Hello, good morning, friends. Today we are going to start a new unit that is client server model and socket interface. So, before going to the introduction part of client server model and socket interface, let's deal with what we are going to study in this unit. So, what we are dealing in it, so syllabus. So, in this syllabus, the main object is we are going to deal with client server paradigm. In that, what is client, what is server, what is concurrency, concurrency in client, concurrency in server, socket, byte ordering functions, socket system calls, connection iterative servers, UDP client servers programs, and connection oriented concurrent servers. So this is the small brief we are going to deal in this complete unit. So one by one we will start reading it. So first we will discuss why actually this client server paradigm. So everybody knows what is client and what is server. So client is nothing but a user who want to get the services from the server. Uh, Continuously clients get active and the server is always passive opens. They always serve to the clients 24 into 7. So if we get a simple example for client server model, so we can consider any example of internet. So where servers are online, always on 24 into 7, where client comes and request for something and it will get a response from the network, and it is served some services to this. So what are the problems, why we'll deal with this? So in brief we will discuss the client server paradigm problem. So what is client server paradigm problem, or what is the purpose of a network or internet network? Is to provide the services to the user at local site want to services from the computer of remote host. Okay, so if I consider that client is user, so it is receiving the services from the remote sites. One way to achieve this the purpose is to run two programs. A local computer runs on program request services and remote computer, and the remote computer runs a program to give services to the requesting program. So this means that two computers are connected by each other and to the internet, and they are servicing some request and responses between each other. So it looks simple to enable the communication between two application program. One is running on local site and another is running on remote site, but many questions may arise when we want to implement such approaches. Some of the questions may ask, maybe should both application able to request services and provide services, or both should the applications program just do one or another? So one solution is to this is the application program is called kind running on local machine and requesting the services from another application program called server running on host machine. So in this other words, we can say this: the task of requesting service is providing some services to the client by servicing some services to by the server, providing some services to the by the server to the client. So second may ask, should a server provide services only to the specific client, or should the server be able to provide the services to any client that requests the type of service it provides? Of course, we can say that the most of the solutions is the server providing the services to any client that needs the type of service, not a particular one. So client server relationship is meant to many. Okay, so one server will be there, many clients will be there, it is requesting that. The next question may be asked, what a computer can run only one program? The solution is that the computer can be connected to internet, should able to run any client program if appropriate software is available. So next may be asked, when should an application program be running? All the time, when or not just when there is a need for the service. Generally client program generated request services should run all time because it does not know when the services will be needed. So this is one of the questions. So next paradigm may be, should there may be any universal application program that can provide any type of services a user wants, or should there be one application for each type of service? our service. In this TCP/IP services need fully frequently by the many users have specific client server program applications. For example, we have separate client and server application that allow the user to access the files, send emails, so on. So even though for services most more customized, we can say the one or generic application program that allows to access the services enabled to the remote computers. For example, when a client server application program allows the user to log on to the remote machine and then services are provided by that computer. So these are some of the client server paradigms. In such situation we can say that client may get request 24 into 7, how the client services are requested, how the server will provide the services to the client. All these things are nothing but client server paradigms, you can say. So moving to the next topic, what is that? So what is server? Sorry, so we can say what is server. So mm, I will define that. What is a server? A server is a program running on remote machine providing services to the client. So okay, we can say here, so what we can say, a server is a program running on the remote machine providing services to the client. When it starts, it opens the door incoming requests from client, but it never initiates a service until the request to do so. Okay, so until I get a request from to any client, until that I cannot do anything in this situation. So a server program is infinite program. I can say it is a infinite because the clients are for used for finite times. We are the clients, we say can use some duration of time and then I will close the internet connection, but servers has 24 into 7 they are on. So I can say it is a infinite loop programs. When it starts, it runs infinite unless a problem arises. If some problem arises in that systems, that may stop, otherwise they'll continue working. If problem arises also, they can just resolve that problems and start continuing with that issues. So it waits for incoming requests from clients. When the request arises, it responds to request and either iteratively or concurrently, as we see shortly. So what is meaning by this iteratively or concurrently? So here we can say the request which are getting, it may be iterative or concurrent in the system. So there may a kind server may be working as a iterative system or concurrent system. So in briefly I will in upcoming lectures I will discuss what is iterative and concurrent systems. So next is nothing but client. So what is a client? I will just read out the definition and explain you. So client, we can say, I already told the server is infinite, so client will be a finite. So client a program running on local machine, it's our own machines, requesting the services from the server. So according to the client, a client is a machine, local machine, it's our own machines. We can say that any machines which is connected to the internet or particular students are using or particular staff is using, so those machines we can say it is a client. Okay, so even your mobile phones may be as a client for someone and you are requesting to the internet, connecting to the internet and getting the services from it. So a client program is a finite. I said it is finite already. So because server is infinite, so client is finite because it uses for short period of time. So which means that it is started by the user and terminates when the services is complete. So I can say that my work is complete, so I definitely stop the internet use of internet and I completed my work, so the services will be providing by the server will stop automatically. So client open the communication channel using an IP address of remote host and well-known port numbers of specific server program running on that machine. So after a channel of communication is open between, okay, communication is open, the client some request some services and response from the server. Although it is request response part may be repeated several times, the whole process is finite and eventually comes to the end. Okay, so this is about the client and server. So client is finite and server is infinite in loop. So client requests something, server responds something to us, and this is nothing but the client server communication. So next bit is concurrency. So what is concurrency? If we study first what is concurrency, both client and server can run concurrent mode. So concurrency in client. So first we will read what is concurrency in client, and then later we see concurrency in server. So first I can say concurrency in client. The client can be run on the machine either iteratively or concurrently. So we already discussed earlier in bit also what is concurrently and iterative. So here I can say the iterative means one machine having one server. So if we have 5 to 6 systems, so each machine will having its only one server, which is going to take the requests of multiple clients, and the requests are coming into a queue and wait for some duration of time, and when the server is accept that one by one request of all the clients, it will proceed all the request and process one by one and gives the reply back to the server. This is nothing but iterative process. Many client one server is an iterative process. So what is concurrent? So concurrent means while we have a main server, so it going to create a proxy of it, proxy of that particular server. Similarly, like server only, it is waiting on some port number, accept the request of client, it creates its own child process of server, and it allocate that client with that particular child process and wait for the next request. So here concurrent means continuously parallelly each client will get its own one server to access the services, where the should not wait for the queue like iterative server. That is nothing the difference between iterative and concurrent. So next, the client running clients iteratively means that them running them one by one. So one client must start, run and terminate before the machine can start another clients. So most computer today were allow the concurrent clients, that is two or more client can run at the same time. Okay, so as we discussed. So what is concurrency in server? So concurrency in the server, an iterative server can process only one request at a time, but it receives the request, process it, and send the response to the requester before it handle the another request. So a concurrent server on other hand can process many requests at the same time and thus share its time between many requests. The server uses UDP, the connectionless transport layer, or TCP IP HTTP. So connection oriented transport layer. The server operation, therefore it depends on two factors: transport layer protocol and service method. Theoretically we can have four types of services or servers: connection oriented, connectionless iterative, connectionless concurrent, connection oriented iterative, and connection oriented concurrent. So these are the four types of servers we can use to provide the services to the uh, clients by the servers. So the next bit is uh, concurrency. So when we have studied concurrency in server, so next bit is connection iterative server. So we have discussed the four names in the last session. We have can studied four different types of servers. So one is connectionless iterative, connectionless concurrent, connection oriented iterative, and connection oriented concurrent. So in that two we are neglecting here. So we are discussing connectionless iterative servers, connection oriented concurrent servers. So first in that connection less iterative servers we will discuss here. So as in the diagram, I will little bit zoom it. So here you can see in this diagram, so what is shown here, there are three clients. So three clients are requesting something to the server. So you can see here incoming queue, all the request which is shown in the different types of colors. One is completely black, one is shaded, and without, one is blank without any shaded white color. So these three requests are sending to the incoming queue of server, and one by one the request is accepted by the server and it is providing services to the clients. So what we can say here, whatever the requests which are coming from the client, it uses a standard port number that is called as empirical port number, which is some number is used for the communication. And here at the server side also we can see that a well-known port number is used for the communications. So what happens here, so iterative I showed already. So whatever the requests are sending from the different clients, it will come to the server, wait in the queue. When it's come uh, on the priority basis to the server, it will accept one request, process the request of the client. It will send back that request to the response to the client on the well-known port number through empirical port number. So because the empirical port number is received by the server, so server know the IP address of the or empirical port number of that particular client on this basis, which is sending request to the response to the client. So similarly all clients will be get request and processed. So we will explain this concept. So what we explain we will read once. So the server that use UDP are normally iterative. So here we are using the UDP service as iterative, which as we had said that means that the server process one request at a time. A server get request received in a datagram from UDP. The process the request and gives the response to the UDP to send the client. The server pay no attention to the other datagram. The datagram are stored in a queue waiting for service. They would all be in the form one client or many clients. In either case, they are processed by one in order of arrival. Okay, the server uses a single port purpose for this and well-known port on all data receiving from the wait port and to be served. So already we discussed that same. Just I forgot to say about the UDP protocol. So in connectionless we use UDP, and in connection oriented we use TCP protocol or HTTP protocol. So this is all about connectionless iterative. So just multiple requests one by one served by the client process. So what is next? So the next is nothing but connection oriented concurrent server. So connection oriented concurrent server. So in this, what's the difference between iterative and concurrent? So here same the three clients are shown in this. Little bit I will zoom it the diagram. So in this the three clients are shown. They are on using one standard empirical port number. So that using that empirical port number, it is going to request to the server some information which is waiting on the well-known port number. Now you can see here with the server side there is three more services are shown, that is child servers. So what happens in this situation? So first the client will come request the packet to the well-known port number of parent server. The parent server accept the request. After accepting the request, it will create a child process, and whatever the request is been received from the client, that request is forwarded to the particular child process and assign an empirical port number to that particular child process. Now what happens, whatever the child process having the empirical port number, it will take the empirical port number of that particular kind, and the communication is taken place between that client and child process. So what next? So and again when this process is completed, the main parent server will go back and wait for that particular client server and wait for the next client to accept their client. When the next client comes, MP client 2, it assigns same process again, child process, creating and assigning that particular client to that process and waiting for again new request. So in this way it will handle all the types of clients and creating the multiple client process, child process. So we will read little bit about this, what actually given in this information. The servers that uses TCP, okay, normally concurrent. When we talk about connection oriented, we use TCP protocol. This means that the server can serve many clients at the same time. Communication orient connection, okay, communication connection oriented means, which means a request is in the form of stream of bytes that can arrive in several segments, and response can occupy several segments.
The connection is established between the server and each client, and the connection remains open until the entire stream is processed and connection is terminated. So this is this type of servers cannot use one port because each connection needs a port and many connections may be open at the same times. So many ports are needed, but server can use only one well-known port number. So I already discussed that. So solution to this well-known port number and many empirical ports. So server will accept the request at well-known port number. Client can make its initial approach to this port to make the connection. After the connection is made, the server assigns some temporary port number to this connection to free the well-known port number. So finally client server will create some new well-known port number assigned to the child process and makes itself free to get the main original well-known port number. The server assigns a time. The data transfer can take place between these temporary ports and client side and other server side. The well-known port number is free now to accept the another call, make the connection. So several client server at the same time can access the many processes and process the original process data in between them. So the server must also have one queue for each connection. The segment come from client and so stored in the appropriate queue and will be observed will be served by the server. So in this fashion it is communicated the concurrent queue process. So the next bit is socket. So what is actually socket and why we require the socket in client server paradigm. So socket is the main role when we use actually the client server communication. So whenever we want to communicate between client and server, we actually require a socket to between them to create a connections for secure communication between client and server. So what is actually socket we will discuss here. So socket is a software abstract stimulation, a hardware socket we see in DTLRF. To use the communication channel, an application program needs to request the operating system to create a socket. The application program can plug into the socket to send and receive the data. For a data communication to occur, a pair of sockets, each at one end of the communication is needed. So okay, this is the abstraction and we connect using the daily life. So what we can say, socket is a software abstract stimulating some hardware socket to use the communication channel. So it is act as a communication channel between your day-to-day life of client and server applications. So in next bit we will see what is socket interface. So what is socket interface? A diagram is shown here. So I will explain why we require what is socket interface or what is interface. So how can actually client process and communicate with the server process? So we can say that a computer is a set of predefined instructions that tell the computer what to do. Computer program has a set of instructions for mathematical operations, another set of instruction for string manipulation, another set of instruction for input output process access. So if we need a program able to communicate with another program running on another machine, we need a set of instruction to tell transport layer to open the connection, send data, receive data from the other end, and close the connections. So a set of instructions of this kind normally referred as interface. So what is socket? A socket is a medium which is used to create a connection between the two entities, client and server, two-way communication. So that is also shown in the diagram. So that is two-way communication is created between the client and server to communicate between them and tell to exchange some set of interactions or exchange some set of information between them. That is called as interface. The several interfaces has been designed for common communication. Three among them common are nothing but socket interface. So socket interface is nothing but a combination of IP address, physical address, or it is a combination of IP address and port number. That is socket interface. TTL Okay, TA, transport layer interface and stream. Although a network programmer needs to know familiar with all these interfaces, we have discussed briefly the socket interface in this chapter, so in detail we'll later see. The socket interface started in 1980s at the University of Berkeley as a part of Unix environment. To better understand the concept of socket interfaces, we need to consider the relationship between the operating systems such as Unix, Windows, and the TCP/IP protocol. So such issues has been ignored right now. We will discuss later. So actually, socket interface lies between the application layer and transport layer between, or we can say operating system and application layer lies in between this. So in this diagram also we can see there is a two-way communication in operating system, and it connected with the plug button, and which is having clients and socket which is created between the two-way communications. So this is all about your socket interface. So next bit, data structure. So what is data structure? So we can say this is just a small socket data structure format which is shown here. So what dotted socket data structure contains? It contains the five elements. So one is family, type, protocol, local socket address, remote socket address. So the same family socket of that particular address is shown in this diagram or box also. Struct socket, it's a socket family of structure of socket. In this structure of socket, it contains the five elements. One is family, type, protocol, local, and remote addresses. So those the format of data structure defines a socket depending upon the underlying language used by the process. Okay, we assume this process are just written in C language because we are dealing right now with all C language. So we consider this situation, which is a type of programming used as the C programming. So throughout this chapter, so we are not using any another language to define here the socket programming. Note that the programmer should, okay, the note that the programmer should not redefine the structure. It's already defined. The program needs only to use the header file that includes these definitions. So we don't want to define any new kind of instructions or structures. It is already defined. We have to use it, and we have to implement it with the help of these structures or methods given to us to create a connection between the client and server. So what these five parameter defines of a structure, a socket structure family. So we will deal one by one. The family, so here family is nothing but the version of that particular IP we are using. So this field defines the protocol group, that is IPv4 or IPv6, Unix domain protocols, and so on. So this family type we are using TCP IP and is defined by the constant IF underscore INET 4 for IPv4 and IF INET 6 for IPv6 version. So family defines the type of version of IP address we are using in this generation to connect with the internet or socket communication. So second type is nothing but type. So what this type defines? So which type of socket actually we are using to send the data and receive the data. So type define, it may be a UDP, it may be a TCP, it may be a HTTP, or it may be a ROML. Actually there are four different types has been defined in this. So I can zoom in this. There you can see in second field type sock underscore DGRAM, that is used for UDP. Sock underscore stream, which is used for TCP. Sock underscore SEQ, sequence packet, used for SCTP. And sock raw, which is used for only some directly services as said by the IP. So next parameter is protocol. This field defines the protocol that uses the interface. It is set to 0 for TCP/IP protocol. So next is local socket address. This is nothing but our own machine address, that is local socket address. A socket address, as discussing later, so combination of IP address and port number are already defined in the socket concept. So last is remote socket address. So this field defines the remote socket address, that is client or machine address to us. So the next bit of client server protocol is nothing but structure of a socket address. So what is the structure of a socket address? We already seen the normal data structure. In that also they are shown five protocols, sorry, structure of that socket. Even though we will discuss, there is a one more detailed structures. Little bit I will zoom it here. So you can, these are five protocols or for five parameters of a socket address or a structure of an address, what they are defining in this. So we will little bit brief upon this topic. So before we use a socket, we need to understand the structure of a socket address, a combination of IP address and port number. There are several types of socket addresses have been defined in the network programming. We define only one user for IPv4 in this version of socket address complete data structure. So this socket address is having SYN length, SYN family, SYN port, SYN address and SYN size 0. So SYN address is internally a structure address of SYN address. So it is a just structure inside a structure, we can say that. So SYN address is internally a structure of in address. So it is shown in this structure. So address dot in, which is having the address length of structure, set of IF family, port number, 32-bit IP address, unused bits. And in that 32-bit IP address is internally a structure of IP address of 32 bits. So this is nothing but the structure of socket address. Next we will discuss something socket functions. There are a lot of socket functions are used when we want to communicate or connect with the internet, connect with the system of client server programming. So we use these different types of functions to communicate between them. Sorry. So in this we will start what is socket function. So operating system create a socket after getting instructions from the process. The process need to use socket function calls to create the socket. The prototype of a socket actually it consists of three parameters. So first one is the structure of socket has been shown. So what actually command we use to create a socket? So it is just I init, okay, int socket, int family, int type, int protocol. So what int family represents? So I already told that family is two types. That is, one is IPv4 family or IPv6. So in this, one of them family will be used IPv6 or IPv4. Init type, there are so four types. So depending upon the version we are using the type. So it may be a UDP, it may be a TCP, it may be a HTTP. So any one of them I can use in four of them. And finally with the protocol, so protocol actually depends here, the value by default is 0, but it depends upon the protocol value on the type. So actually we have four types. So which type of protocol we are using, on this type of protocol it going to change its value. So that is nothing but protocol. So it's just structure of that particular protocol. The next function is nothing but bind function. So what actually bind function does? So this function call fills the field of a socket partially to bind the socket to the local computer and local port. The find functions need to be called. So bind function fills the value for the socket address, local address, IP address and local port number. Return -1 if the binding fails. This prototype is shown in the figure. Okay, so we can show this figure here. Int bind, int sock fd, struct socket address, local address and socket address length. So socket FD is the reference to the system call. So above we have defined that socket program which is going to create a socket. So to a socket FD is representing to that. It requires the local IP address and port number of that machine. After that we are defining the length of socket address. So these are the parameters which are used to connect to the bind functions. So next, connect functions. So it is used to connect system call to connect the remote socket addresses. This function is used to add the remote socket address to the socket structure and return -1 if the connection fails. So it contains the format int connect socket fd address remote address and address line. So it is same like bind, but it's having a local address and it is having the remote address. So socket fd almost referring to the main socket connections. Remote address is nothing but server address and address length of that address machine. Next function call is listen. Listen function is called only by the TCP server if inform the operating system that a socket is ready for receiving the request, client request. So it is having only two parameters, that is backlog and socket fd. The socket fd already told. What is backlog? It is nothing but number of requests came from the clients. So maximum number of connection request. This is listen. Accept. Accept function call is used by the server to inform the TCP that it is ready to receive the connection from the client. So it will accept that connection from the client. So what is the structure of that accept function call? Int accept, int socket fd, socket address of client and address. So it will accept the request from the client. So it is only having the local socket address of that particular client required. So socket address of remote machine, length of that client address. Fork function. So fork function is used by a process to duplicate a process. So when we want to duplicate another process, so we have discussed that concurrent situation. So in concurrent situation the fork function is maybe used. So we can say that it is used to create the multiple copies of client servers like that. So PID underscore T fork, it is just a function call used to create the user by the parent process. Send and receive functions. So this is one of the important function of socket, so client server programming. So what is in this we use send and receive functions in TCP and send to and send receive functions which are used in UDP. So here the send and receive functions. So this function is used by the process to send the data to another process running on the remote machine. Receive function is used to receive the some of the information from the client to server and server to client like that. So they have their structures defined here. What we actually using init 10 send. So similarly we have also for send and receive. So what actually send and its socket address, send buffer n bytes, and finally it's having a flag. So where flag is usually having the some zero value. So n bytes is nothing but number of bytes send and receive from the client and server to client, and send buffer is nothing but the limitation of that particular sending buffer which is required to send from source to the destination. So similarly same structure is used in the receive from where we receive the information limit of that and size flags. Send to, so send to and receive from same functions of or similar functions of that particular send and receive. But what is the difference between send and receive functions is from send to and send receive from is that it is used in UDP and it is used in TCP. Like just difference between them. So I will go directly to the send to and send receive from buffers parameters like that. Send I need okay, initialize its integer send to init in int socket fd constant void buffer and bytes flag socket address destination address and address line. So the two extra fields are used in this, that is length of destination or source address and number of bytes that's to be sent and received or destination source address. We are using only length and destination address is required extra parameters in send to and receive. And finally we have a close function which is used to close the connection after completion of transmission between the data client and server. So it will going to close that complete connection between that.
So the next function is byte ordering functions.
So what is byte ordering functions? So information in a computer is stored in host byte order, so which may be a little endian, in which little n byte is stored in the starting address, or big endian in which the byte end byte which is stored in the starting address. So little endian and big endian are the two different types of formats are which are used to store the information in the byte ordering. So what we do in this, so when you use the little endian format, the least significant byte is will be first. So least significant, that is LSB, from left to right, so left bit will be first, after that remaining bits will, and in big endian it may be in the right, most significant is nothing but right to left. So in this fashion the byte ordering information is stored of an IP address. So network programming needs data and other piece of information to be in network byte order, which is big endian. So since we write the program, we not sure how the information such as IP addresses and port numbers are stored in the computer. We need to change them to network byte orders. So two functions in the computer we need to change to the network byte order. Two functions are designed for this purpose. HTONS, that is host to network, which changes the 16-bit value of network byte order, and HTONS L, that is host to network long, which does the same as long 32-bit value. So there are two functions that exactly do opposite of that. NTOH, network to host, that is HTOH, and to HL. So similarly functions. So you can see in this what we are using, HTONS and HTONS, that is nothing but four functions are shown here. 16 unit 16 underscore t h2ns, that is nothing but host to network conversion, and unit 16 to t underscore t and tuhs, that is nothing but network to host, vice versa. So the 16 bit is used for port numbers and 32 bits are used for IP addresses in this to conversion of host to network and network to host. These are nothing but byte ordering functions. After this we have two additional functions, but that is not represented in my PPT. So for additional information I was saying that what is next function, that is memory management function. So finally we need some functions to manage the stored values in the memory. So we use three commonly functions here. So that is nothing but memory set, memory copy, and memory compare. So memory set is used to set a specified number of bytes in the memory to define the destination pointer, that is starting address, how to store the starting address from where we have to set the information. Second is nothing but memory copy, which is used to copy a specified number of bytes from one part of the memory to another part of the memory. And third function is mem compare, which is used to compare two set of bytes starting from pointer 1 and pointer 2. If the result is 0, then it sets equal. If less than 0, first bit is smaller and second bit is greater than 0. it set the another larger 10 second. So these are the three different memory functions which are used. Address memory and memory management functions we are using in these functions. So one more function is address conversion function. So this is also address conversion function. When we like to work with IP address in dotted decimal formats. When we want to store the address in socket, we need to change it to number. So two functions are used to convert an address from a representation of number and vice versa. So we use two different functions, that is PTON, presentation to number, and number to presentation formats, which is usually used to conversion of the data from number to presentation to number, that is what is numerable. These are the different functions which are used to two additional functions which are not in my presentation, which I told you, address conversion and memory management functions. So not last topic, that is communication in Unix. So it is connection oriented and connectionless. So in this I can say this is the half portion. Okay, this is half portion which is representing TCP, and this is the half portion which is representing the UDP. So these are the two formats which is used for the communication between client and server. So what we doing here, so first we will discuss communication in Unix. So in this communication in Unix, connection oriented, so client and server process will request something. After that they will get connection between client and server, and it will process some functions between the client and server, and finally they wind up their communication and close the connections. So first we will discuss with the connectionless iterative server using UDP, that is connectionless. So first I will show you the connectionless process. In this we are using the bind command. Okay, so this is nothing but send to and receive from. We are going to discuss first. So what in this happens first in server side and client side. First I will tell about the server process. So server process starts first, and server process call the socket function to create a socket. Then it tells the bind function to bind the socket will its well-known port number, the IP address of the computer on which the server process is running. The server tells the receive function which blocks until the datagram arrives. When the datagram arrives, receive function unblocks, extract the client socket address and address length from the received datagram and return them to the process. The process says two pieces of information and call the procedure to handle the request. When the result is ready, the server process calls send to function and uses saved from information to send the result to client that requested. The server uses the infinite loops responding the request coming from the same client or different client. In client side, what we are doing, so in client side the client process is simpler. The client calls the socket function to create the socket. Once it creates the socket, it sends the function send to function and pass the socket address to the server and the location of the buffer where UDP can get the data to make the datagram. And then the client will wait receive function from the block until it receives the reply from the server. When the reply arrives, the UDP delivers the data to the client process, which make the receive function to unblock and deliver the data received to the client process. And that message is so small to fit into the single datagram. If it not, in this case, the two functions calls send to and receive function need to repeated again, and the server not aware of multi datagram communication, so it handles each request separately. So this is about the UDP connections. Okay, later we will discuss now about the TCP stream of data communication, what happens in the TCP of client side and server side. So before going to the server client side, we will discuss little bit about the client side server side. So first I will talk about the server's process. The server process start first, it calls socket function to create a socket. we call the listen socket. The socket is only during the connection establishment. The server calls the first bind function to bind the connection socket address to the server computer. The server program calls that accept function. Once it accepts the information in the blocking function, it is called until it is blocked the TCP connection request from the client. Accept the connection. Once it accepts the connection, it unblocks. It will use the send and receive functions to send and exchange the data between the client and server process. And finally, it's going to create a child process, fork process. It create a fork process by the server and wait for the another client for the on the well-known port number, and when finishes the client questions, so it will automatically terminate with that process. So in the client side, same process is used. The client socket function create. After creating the connection, will request for the connection. The client connects with the blocking function, blocked until the connection is established between the two functions. Once it is creation, the connection is established, then it uses the send function and receive function from the services, exchange the data, and finally it close the connections. So this is about the connection oriented. So thank you for the listening. This wind ups with your client server communication program.